Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Welcome to another one of these late winter, early spring tidy ups. This one isn't going to take much of a tidy up. I don't remember doing it, but it looks like it's already been done. I think I did it late summer. I can't remember. Anyway, it's the sister tree to my other maple. I call them sister trees because they are very, very similar in shape, size, and they are exactly the same age because they were bought as 6-inch seedlings basically. This has got some nice form to the trunk. We're lucky to have this branch. I tried bending that and it actually completely snapped, and I ended up gluing it together and wrapping it really tight with tape, and it actually repaired itself. I mean, it's obviously got a scar there, but having a scar and still having the branch, and the energy is getting through because it does grow, is better than not having the branch at all, which is what I'd have had if I hadn't tried to rescue it. So there's a bit of trimming to do on this, but not a huge amount. I can see some larger stuff that wants to come off. Actually take that back to that little side shoot there. Don't think it's much really large stuff. Branches like this that started as a long extension and then have done long extensions on top of that, that's got to go. Problem you get with maples is if you keep trimming back to the same place, you end up getting a bulge, a knot, which is a little bit unsightly. There's not a huge amount of choice. Well, choice is not doing it, I suppose. And again, I've got a large bit sticking up there. We don't want that. Don't want this tree. This is the apex here, so anything that's above that is probably going to come off. I can get in there just about that little shoot. So I'm just looking for big stuff while I've got these in my hand. Everything else will come off with the scissors. So now I'm going to go back to my normal method, which is starting at the bottom. I like to start at the bottom so that I can determine the width of the tree. Yeah, and then I know that everything else needs to get smaller and create the dome shape that I like. Not everybody does, I do. Yeah, this must have had a trim. There's no way this would look like this otherwise. So I'm just bringing it in. It's sticking up. I don't mind a little bit sticking up, especially on this first branch because it tips upwards. So by having a little bit of height near the base of this branch, levels it out a bit. Yeah? This isn't going to need much work, quite honestly. Some very long bits around the back here. You'll have to go. Oops, missed. And again, this is a branch that started off with a long extension and then produced long extensions on top of that. Got crossing branches here. Yeah, it'll be that one that has to go. What's that? That needs the bigger cutter. Get in there if I can. That didn't cut very well, did it? Let's have another go. That's better. Right, so where do we get to? Dead bit. Not a lot of dieback on this, I must admit. There is some, but not a lot. which is good. So I don't remember doing this. I've got a feeling I might have done this in late summer. It's never as easy pruning trees in late summer, simply because they're obviously in leaf, and you know it's sometimes difficult seeing what the hell you're doing. You can't really see the branch structure, you can only see the outline. Now there's a little branch around the back on this that gives it some depth. It will look nicer if it becomes wider. So I'm going to take this back to everything that's pointing sideways, and then not take anything off the width. So that will look better from here, because it will now break the line of the trunk out there. Then we've got this side branch that in theory we shouldn't have. Long extension there, we don't want that. Otherwise that's quite a nice flat pad. It's got width to it, and it defines the outline of the tree. That's going to end up, there's two buds there, they will both grow, and that will end up being out here all on its own. So it will look wrong. That's sort of looking into the future. That's what will happen rather than what has. I've got little bits of dye back, but not much. And then we come round to here. Now we do have some dye back on here, not a lot, but some. And again, we've got quite a nice flat pad here. This is sticking out a bit too much, actually. That could do with going back into that side shoot. That will look better. A bit of algae. Crossing branch. We come round here, we've got lots of crossing branches. And the offending one is that. That's better. That's long and skinny, we don't want that. That's quite a nice flat pad there. Apart from that bit. That's better. Right, then we've got this little bit here that I've left it there because it breaks the line of the trunk. Otherwise, yes, it's nice to see the trunk, but it's nice to have the trunk interrupted in places. Now that branch is too far out sideways. This one, when these extensions grow, we do get a little bit of, you know, sort of dappled cover, whatever you want to call it here. So we do interrupt the line, but we don't block it. This one is there for that purpose. I'm not even going to touch it, I'm going to see what it does, because it is quite weak. And then we get up into the apex, where we are seriously looking for stuff that crosses over like that. Die back. Die back. Just looking at, see, again, long extension, secondary long extension. And it's got a little shoot at the base. Well, let's keep the little shoot then. And then we've got a branch here with some small shoots. Another long extension there with a side shoot. Keep the side shoot. Again here. Crossing. Stay. No, we don't. No, we'll keep the one that's coming up over the top of it. So I'm trying to look through to see what's actually going to happen, and I like some negative space in the apex. There won't be much, but there will be some. You know, there's negative space here. There'll be a little bit here. This, see, I've left that big long bit there. Was I trying to get the tree to grow taller? I don't believe I was. I don't want this tree really to grow any taller. I'm happy with its basic shape. So I'm going to take that off. We'll go back to there. And that bit of dye back. Doesn't look right. given that we've got some nice ramification going on here, this bit just doesn't look right. I'm going to take that large chunk right off. And it's going to go back to there. And go straight down the back of the bench on the floor. Thank you. Right, now what I'm looking at is tangle. I don't mind ramification, but I don't like tangle, you know, where lots of branches just literally get in each other's way. And when the leaves come out, they just end up looking like a bush. You lose your shape. So, but I don't want to go too mad. I do still want some shoots at the top of the tree. I think we'll let that leaf out now and see how it looks. I don't like that bit pointing straight into the centre. We don't want that. Yeah, we'll let that leaf out now. So the only other thing is, the thing that obviously didn't get done last time was cleaning the pot up. And is that on camera? Yeah, I'll just bring the camera down a bit. But this is a lovely type of moss. It's like feathers. It's beautiful. But I don't like moss in my pots. It basically often stops the water getting down in, because the water runs off the sides of the pot before it gets chance to go down into the media, because it sort of forms a barrier. So I always like to take it off, and I usually end up doing it a couple of times a year, because certainly with this star-shaped stuff, it's almost impossible to get rid of it. You can get rid of every bit of it that you can see. A month later it'll start growing again. It just keeps coming back. I've never been able to get rid of it. But I do have an idea that I'm going to try this year. We will get a weed killer that kills green. Not one of these that, you know, that you water in and it gets soaked up into the roots. I don't want that sort of thing. I want something that kills green. I don't want the sort of thing that's absorbed into the plant and goes right down to the roots, because it will be getting down into the tree roots as a chemical, and then some of it could get into the tree roots. I don't want that sort of thing. I want something that just kills green. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up small amounts and get a little paintbrush and paint it on. Just paint it on the green bits, so that it doesn't, well, won't even touch the soil with any luck. It certainly won't go down in it. And see if that does the job. See if we can wipe it out once and for all. Because I've got one really bad pot. It's not moss. The bittersweet in the garden, which is well, it's a weed, but I mean, it's a wild flower basically. Has tiny little white flowers on. But it's a rampant seeder, and it disperses its seeds in quite an area around the plant when it goes to seed. So once you've got it, you've got a hell of a job to get rid of it, and it has a clever mechanism that not all plants can use. If it produces seed in year one, the seed that it produces is not destined to grow, all of it is not destined to grow in year two. Some of it's destined to grow in subsequent years. So some of it will germinate in year two, some of it will germinate in the same year it's produced. And if you let it flower and seed, then you're going to have it for a long time, because of this mechanism whereby it produces seed that is viable but doesn't germinate immediately, holds fire, and it allows it to perpetuate itself. It covers things like drought, you know, when the plants would die perhaps before they had chance to produce seed. So there's still some viable seed around from previous years. So it's almost impossible to get rid of. I mean, out in the garden, I was very, very careful last year. I never let one plant actually bloom. I whacked them all before they had chance to bloom and therefore seed. And this year, I've got loads. They're back. and I've got one bonsai pot that's full of the stuff, and the plants bloomed and seeded in the pot, so they are going to be incredibly difficult to ever get rid of. But if I try this painting on anything green with some type of weed killer that just does green stuff, then we might get rid of it. And obviously I won't let it ever seed again in that bonsai pot. Nothing will be allowed to flower again, but as I said, there will be viable seed in that pot that will be coming up in the next few years, and all I've got to do is just keep killing it until there's nothing left, until all the seeds are gone, and then hopefully we can have a clean pot and stop the work. You know, it's getting rid of weeds in bonsai pots is work, and it's not work I like. You know, I don't like weed in my bonsai pots. I don't mind doing this in the spring, the pot clean up, because with the root expansion in the pot, which we all get, well, we do if we've got a nice active root system, obviously roots get bigger, they expand. As they expand, they take up more room, and it lifts the surface of the media, so that it makes it even more difficult to water and more easier for the water to run off and not soak in. So by having this little tidy up, I always make sure that I've got a nice ledge round the edge of the pot when I've finished, and that allows the water to soak in. I also always make sure that the surface is loosened. I can't loosen it here, these are actually roots. There's a big root there, another big one there, but just loosen it. It allows the water to get in. This is getting a bit pot bound, this. I think it's not on the list to repot this year, but I think we might have to do it next year, simply because it's filled the pot with roots. It's I know it's a daft expression, but it always seems like the roots have eaten the media. Because when you repot it, there's not much left, it's all roots. Well, where did the media go then? Well, some of it's come off the top, is what I'm doing now. Right, so that'll do, and then we've just got to get rid of that moss on the trunk. I've got a stiff toothbrush that does the job most of the time, does it quite successfully. I've got a wire brush as well, but that's a bit harsh, especially for deciduous trees, like, well, certainly like maples. As the bark on maples is actually quite fragile. You can damage it quite easily. You can damage maple bark by having too tight a grip and actually holding the tree too tight, and you can actually loosen the bark. It's a shame actually, this light green moss is really attractive, because I suspect some of it's going to regrow because I'm not getting it all off, and a lot of it is falling on the media as tiny little pieces. Well, they may well regrow, but it's quite easy to remove. But leaving moss on trunks is not the best of ideas, because it stays wet and it soaks moisture up from around the base of the trunk onto the trunk. So it's better gone, quite honestly, even though it can look attractive. Right, that will do. I've just got a couple of rampant roots sticking out that just make the pot look untidy. We'll just clip those off. Incredibly thin wire I used to hold this tree in last time I repotted it. It's really thin. Anyway, that's it. That will do. That's your front view. As I said, the trunk's got some nice movement. You know, it curves away from the first branch, and then you've got the next branch on an outside bend with the back branch almost at the same place but not quite, and then another major branch that I've just noticed is actually sticking out far too far. It's breaking the outline of the trunk of the tree, so that can go. That's better. Always stand back a bit now and again. Make sure you've got, see, what I aim for is each branch comes in and then you get to the dome shape on the top. The same on the other side, and each branch gets smaller as it goes up, and that creates the sort of dome shape. But there's some reasonable movement on the trunk, and yeah, quite nice. It would probably look a lot nicer in a nice glazed pot as well, rather than a unglazed pot like that. It's a bit plain. I'll have to have a look next time I repot. I'll have to have a look and see if I've got something. I mean, that would suit a conifer better than this, but that's probably the only one I had that was the right size when I actually repotted it. And this is going to come into leaf very, very soon. I've got my Deshojo maple, which is a very mature tree, and then I've got these two sister trees which are roughly the same size and shape, and I've got a trident maple. That's a young, well, it looks older than it is because it's an air layer, so obviously had a running start. It wasn't a seedling or a cutting or anything like that. It started out as a air layer, so it's got a trunk of sorts. It's not a mature tree by any means, but certainly the Deshojo and the two sister trees, they're going to be worked on in the spring, and as these buds shoot out, they will do that and produce two tiny leaves with a new shoot. That will run rampant. That will do that. It will be off. And then you get these two leaves extend, yeah, and you've got a long extension up the middle. So what I do is when the leaves open and that little shoot pokes out, I go and pinch that shoot out right across the whole tree. You can't do it in one go, but wait till you get a good amount to do and then do it. And then literally every time you walk past the tree, do it again, because you'll find more. You can almost do it on a daily basis, certainly on a 3 or 4 day basis. And you just gradually get rid of all of what would be the long extensions. You stop them being produced, and the two little leaves will produce a little bud. Where the extension's been taken out, that bit of branch will think, oh, goodness me, I have no way of growing now. I need some more growth. And it will produce two little shoots, two buds in the leaf axil, and they will start to grow, but they won't have the same amount of energy. Yeah, so they will be shorter, and you get better ramification and smaller leaves over the whole tree. Trust me, it works really well. But it's an amount of effort to do a mature tree with a good set of ramification like my Deshojo perhaps, and to keep doing that over a sort of 3 or 4 week period, you're using quite a bit of your time to do it. And if you had dozens and dozens of maples, then you wouldn't do it, because you just wouldn't spend that time. But I haven't got that many. I mean, I've only got a dozen or so bonsai anyway. And the Bonsai Society that I go to, I don't belong to it, but I go to it when I can, now and again, is on a Sunday morning, and providing it's not chucking it down with rain this month, they meet on the last Sunday morning of the month, so providing it's not raining I will go this month, and that allows me to get rid of 2 trees I don't want. That's 2 less to worry about. Frees up a bit of space for other trees that are becoming larger as the years go on. They'll have more space, look better with a bit more space around them, and it will allow me to take in my large juniper that's still in a flower pot, and I can do the major branch selection and possibly some major wiring and branch shaping to actually turn what is a bush in a pot into a bonsai. Unfortunately I can't film it at the society because other people would be in the video and they're not going to like that. So and I want help with it, I want advice, you know. I'm hoping it's going to be a really good bonsai, and the more heads that get their ideas into that bush so that we come out with a tree the other end, the better. Because although I might do a reasonable job on my own, I can't say that I would come out with the best of all the ideas on my own. Whereas if three or four other people will have a collective of ideas, and I can run with like the more popular ones, providing I like it, of course. Otherwise I shall ignore them completely. It's my tree, it's mine. Anyway, that's this one done, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for dropping by.